Boom, we are back. Welcome back to the Omniverse Comics Guide podcast. I'm Dave Molyneux from England.
I'm Eric Anthony from Canadian land.
How's it going, dude?
I'm all right, motherfucker.
Tonight is going to be a speakeasy for everybody that is tuned in already. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button if you're watching on Twitch, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any podcast player you prefer. Hit the subscribe button, rate and review us, tell us what you think. Even if you don't like us, tell us. We can take it. We're big boys.
Well, speak for yourself.
That, sit back. I know, look at all the toys behind us. Sit back, enjoy the show, and have a drink, because tonight is the Comic Speakeasy.
It's the Comic Speakeasy. What are you drinking? Cha-ching. What are you drinking?
Cha-ching. I have, so right now it's summertime. Where's your drink? There it is.
There you go.
Oh, you got it.
Trying to find the camera.
It's really nice weather outside. I got the sun shining into my room. So right now I'm just drinking something light. It's a cider. But I don't have any lager or ales in my fridge yet. But yeah, for now I'm having a little summer drink.
Nice.
How about yourself?
Nice. Dude, I'm having a cocktail.
Ooh, well, what's in your cocktail?
It's a cocktail made of water, malted barley, glucose, syrup, hops, and hops extract. So lager, basically.
A cocktail. Nice. Everything has to be a little extra fancy.
That's how we do it in the Englands.
Very sophisticated. That's why we teamed up, Dave. I need the sophistication from your end, because everybody here is a nitwit. No, I'm just kidding. On the speakeasies, if you've tuned in before, you know what they're like. They're just us talking off the top of our heads. We have questions sometimes lined up for each other, subjects to like tackle, or what ifs. Or Dave usually has those good random top 10 questions where it's like you can get this. They're fun. They're a ton of fun. Always making me guess the pronunciation of characters' names, but it's going to be comic book filled, nerdy filled. Let's get into it. Take a sip before we begin and lose our voices.
Actually, if anyone wants to share what they're drinking while they're watching live tonight, feel free. We've got Omega Bread actually here, who's drinking the Tears of the Damned. A little bit fruity, but it's all they had in the canteen and work. So thanks for joining us, Mr. Bread.
Very nice. Shout out to, of course, I forgot to mention this, omniversecomics.guide. I always tell people to subscribe to the show. Make sure you check out the website. Always new stuff there. Reviews are growing. It's just a great website for reading lists, finding things to read. Check it out.
Cool.
All right. My friend, David.
David. Are you my mum?
I'm your mum. Yes. So Jim Lee now has every title that you could have working for a comics company. He is the president, the publisher, and the chief creative officer.
Is he?
Of DC Comics. Yeah. I saw that he became president a couple days ago. I was having like a little chat with someone on Instagram about it. But it reminds me now, I don't know if you've seen this movie, of Kevin Spacey in Horrible Bosses. Have you seen Horrible Bosses?
Horrible Bosses. No.
Not to say that Jim Lee is like Kevin Spacey.
I'm sure he's lovely.
Don't take that out. Yes. But it's in that movie, the joke is that Jason Bateman's character is going for promotion.
Yeah.
And he's just killing himself, making sure that he is the right guy for that job. And when it comes time to announce who's getting it, Kevin Spacey, who is the owner and CEO of the company, says, it's going to be me. I'm just going to garnish those wages because I'll be, basically doing that job too. So you're all welcome. So it's like every possible promotion you could get, this guy's got the title. And that feels like Jim Lee right now at DC Comics.
But how is he able? Like, why? I don't understand. Where's he got the time?
That's the question I wanted to ask you in a roundabout way. When you think of Jim Lee, what comes to your mind now after, the years of him being an artist and founder of Image and, coming back into DC and having had that little run with Batman, Superman, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Now he's sitting on the DC throne.
He is.
There's nobody there's no one to answer to.
There's always our Lord Jesus Christ.
Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers.
But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I mean, the things there are people that say like it seems a waste of his talent because he's obviously a pretty good artist, isn't he? But the thing is, just because you are really good at that one thing doesn't mean you can't be good at something else and do that. Is he though? I don't know. I mean,
that's the question.
The thing is, they made him like the chief costume designer at one point, didn't they? Like for New 52 relaunch, like he did all the costumes. And I don't know if he's necessarily the best. And I've seen this said as well. It's not like this is my complete fresh thought, but it's in some cases it's kind of hard to disagree. He redesigned all the characters. His stuff is great. You know, I think probably more even covers than interiors. Like a lot of it's quite posy stuff, isn't it, that he does? It's a lot of splash pagey art. He doesn't necessarily do the emotion. I don't know. It seems weird. Who knows? The thing is, like when it comes to that kind of stuff, you don't really know what the job involves because it's just such a random
in this case, it feels
title.
like every decision to be made is his. If you're the publisher, you're really overseeing what books get made and what books don't get made. If you're the president, you're hiring who gets to do all of that, right? You're hiring every editor.
At least hiring the key upper level people.
The key people, right? And then if you're the chief creative officer, I'm like, what's
That's
really
too
left?
many things in one job.
Right. And I'm of the opinion, this may be kind or unkind, I think Jim Lee is a really good artist. That's all. Because for me, it just makes me say I'm really not going to read DC Comics going forward because I don't really trust any of his creative decisions as a creator. If he's told what to draw, I'll say like, yeah, he'll draw the hell out of that. But if he has to decide and thinks like, I don't think he has a good story idea personally.
But he doesn't necessarily need to, design, does he?
He doesn't. But no, he doesn't need to. But I don't think he has good ones when he does. So to make him the guy who oversees a company where you need fresh ideas, his fresh ideas have never been very good.
Saying that, and he did at Wildstorm.
Yeah.
Presumably, he put Warren Ellis in place. Whatever you may think of him now, he put Warren Ellis in place in a position that led to the creation of the Authority.
Right.
And it's like with Joe Quesada. So Joe Quesada wasn't an editor. He was an artist. And then they got him in to do Marvel Knights with Jimmy Palmiotti, and they aced it. And then he went up, you know. And I think that period of time at Marvel was great. I'm not saying he is Jim Lee or anything, but I think it's possible to do that.
It is possible. I'm just saying that we can look back at Joe Quesada and say, you know what? He has a pretty good track record. Not everything. It's not. He didn't bat 100 or 1,000, as they say. I'm not sure what the metaphor.
What the cricket equivalent is in England.
Yeah, I don't know what. I don't know.
15 wickets to the pound.
He wasn't perfect, but you look back at it and you're like, yeah, good things came from what seemed controversial or weird at the time. But like, I like a lot of New 52, but the one thing I don't like about New 52 is those costumes. They're not good. They're not good updates for the entire line. Maybe Wonder Woman I felt was a pretty good one, but everybody else's update was not remarkable. Can you think of one of them that was like that? That's a good costume redesign.
Whenever I think of the New 52 costumes, I just think about either Cyborg, which it looked better than the suspenders, the stockings look from the 70s, 80s.
Yeah, yeah.
It looked kind of cool. I keep thinking of Superman, but I didn't necessarily like the look, but I just keep thinking about it. The thing is, I think you should have the artist on the series should design the thing, because having someone design a costume is all well and good, but when a regular series artist takes that design, it doesn't always work.
Yeah.
Like, for example...
Yeah, I think you're right.
Look at how weird it is, and this came up recently on a chat, I think, on Instagram that I was in. Was it on here? Like with Phoenix, Rachel Summers, when she...
I think it was.
Robert Downey Jr. When Robert Downey Jr.'s gone, yeah, fuck it. Like, you know, like, let's redesign her costume. Like, it's fine. Do it. Fuck it. when he basically he did her thing and it was the weird lines across the face. That whole look... I don't think it necessarily translated when other people drew it, at least initially. Some people made it work. Alan Davis made it work, but it tied in with J.R. Jr.'s art style. It was on the John Romita Jr. episode, of course.
Yeah.
But there's that thing of like, it works with that artist. So it makes no sense for me that someone would draw everything and go, this is how everyone looks now. I mean, you could argue that DC did do it, and it did work with Jose. I can never get his name right in order.
Garcia Lopez.
But then, did he redesign them, or did he just? I mean, it was the style guide, wasn't it, that he drew?
It was a style guide but I also think it was. I don't think artists working on those books needed to draw that. I think it was a style guide for all the other IPs in the multimedia where those were going to be used. So toys and
the art was
things
used
that were
on things.
Yeah. So his artwork was the representation of all of the products that the company would sell: pajamas, backpacks, things like that. But I don't think everybody had to draw in the Garcia Lopez style. If anything, I think a lot of people were trying to draw the Neil Adams style.
Probably.
For a time, especially with Batman, right?
I guess it was. Oh, not. I'm just off camera. No brands here.
Not sponsored yet.
Not sponsored by anyone. Can't have.
Feel free if there's any loggers that want to sponsor us.
Drink
an Omniverse
drink
Comics
while you read
guide
with
here.
Omniverse Comics Guide. Get a problem. You got a problem? We won't solve it. Just keep drinking and reading.
So. Don't read and drive. I mean, yeah.
Definitely don't read and drive.
So you think that there's a chance that he could write? I don't know if anything is even wrong with DC, right? People might be loving it.
There's one thing I'm not a big fan of with DC
for a
right
while.
now.
What's that?
You know, we don't do the kind of the smack talky negative speak, right?
No.
Too
But
many
we're honest.
Too many books are written by Joshua Williamson, and the thing for me with Joshua Williamson, if we're kind of comparing it to like early 2000s Marvel with the Jim Lee Joe Quesada comparison, Joshua Williamson right now is his Bendis.
Brian Michael Bendis.
He's writing everything, and then I'll look at some of the stuff like that Nightmare, what's it called, Night Terrors event they've got coming up. It looks interesting. Like I was liking the look of it because it's got that kind of nightmarish, warped gothic edge to it. I love that shit. That's I'll take that. And then you look at the writer and it's Joshua Williamson, and I'm going like, oh. And like, it's not that he's a bad writer. He's just okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I read his Flash, and it was seriously the most plodding book I think I've ever read. And it just, you were kind of going, this is building to something. Eventually, I'll give it 3 more volumes. Like, it just didn't kick off. And I find a lot of his stuff is
I
like
heard
that.
a lot of good things about it. I read the first 2 trades, I think, maybe.
Yeah.
And I liked it enough to say, I'll check this out if it comes out in like bigger collected editions. I'll keep my eye on this. And I kept hearing, like, to see somebody stay on a book for 60 issues.
Yeah.
75 issues. Like, they're going for it.
That's great.
And I think, it's great. It doesn't happen often, but you're thinking to yourself, okay, this is groundbreaking. This is the stuff. Like, they're letting this guy do this run because, one, it's selling like crazy. People are loving it. It's that good. And then I do hear good things, but then at the same time, I hear people like, yeah, it's okay. And he's writing everything else too. So it's just, you wonder, like,
it's too much. There's just no escape. The thing is, if you're not a fan, where do you go? And I get this with the Bendis thing because I love Brian Michael Bendis. I loved the stuff he was doing. I loved that he was doing all those Avengers books. Got really hooked into it. And there were some people going, I just don't like his style. Just don't like the way he writes. He's going like, but it's good. And I was just so adamant that it's not, well, I guess I was at that point going like, you're kind of wrong. But it's not wrong. It's just personal preference. And
yeah.
The thing is, if you don't like his stuff, where do you go? And that's, I think, when you look back at the way Marvel was written in the 80s, the way that, the creative teams worked in the 80s, sure, there were some people that worked on multiple books, but it wasn't so widespread, I think, as it can be now. Joshua Williamson is on everything, and I literally hover over something and go, oh, that looks good. And then you go, who's writing it? Yeah, I'll just leave it. And I literally won't. If I've ordered it and then I realise it's Joshua Williamson writing it, I'll cancel it. And it's not. I don't dislike him. I'm sure he's a nice guy. He sounds like an interesting guy. I've heard interviews. I think he seems really excited about what he's doing. It just doesn't work for me. It never works for me. Apart from one series he did that I really liked, which was Birthright.
Infinite Frontier.
Oh, God. Oh, so bland. He did this series called Birthright for Image, and it was... I only read one volume of it, but it made me just go, I really love this concept. It's brilliant. And this is a fun series. Yeah. You can see it's going to be a fun series. I think that some people... There are plenty...
I'm waiting for that in a compendium, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
I would really like to read that. It's a good-looking book.
There's so many compendiums coming out from Image at the minute. They've announced a load more. And that's one that I would really like to see. And it makes sense because they're collecting his Ghosted series as a compendium, I think. And what's that? The Murderers one, where all the murderers live in a small town together. I don't know. I'll think of it at some point. But I think they're doing that as a compendium. Blanking. But Nailbiter, thank you, Mr. Omega Bread. Nailbiter. And also hi to Marvel Man for joining us. Marvel Man has done some of the entries on the Omniverse Comics Guide. Some of the old school Marvel stuff. So big old shout to Marvel Man for joining us. It's a great show, guys. And there's some more entries that I've got coming up. I've got to just do the artwork for it and finish up putting it together for him. But yeah, he's providing some stuff for us, which is brilliant. So thank you. Thanks for joining. But yes, Nailbiter. Nailbiter is the series, which was like another one. I read it, started reading it and going like, okay, this is a great concept, but when does it kick off? And it just didn't. Right.
It's all that build up. It's a lot of like setting it up. And when it kicks off, you're going to be blown away. And you're just like, it's taking too long.
Yeah.
Like, let's get to it. Like the anticipation is so much that no matter what you do, it might not be good enough now because I've waited a long time.
Yeah. That's
what's going to really...
And you've got to do that again and again in comics. It's like the nature of a 22-page periodical with like, it's a constant hangover. I'm thinking ahead. It's a constant cliffhanger. It's such a weird thing, isn't it? Because it's like 22 pages is quite short. If you watch an hour episode of a TV show and you get a cliffhanger, you go like, there's been a lot of stuff going on in there. A comic is probably about, it can be 15 to 25 minutes to read. A normal 22 pager. Yeah. And then you got a cliffhanger. And then you got another 15, 20 minutes and a cliffhanger. And it's like, there's a lot of cliffhangers going on. It's a very weird thing, which is why I kind of get the idea now of people going, let's stop doing single issues and just do graphic novels.
Right.
But I don't know. It's a very strange process. I think when you read older books and you go, wow, you had to do cliffhangers like every 20, especially now it's 20 pages, not even 22 pages anymore. Or you did Marvel Comics Presents. You remember that series? Like there were 4 stories in an issue.
Yeah, it was like
8 pages ago, and every 8 pages you had to have a cliffhanger.
But I think there was a lot of writers and editors said that made them very good writers.
Yeah. When
they learned how to economize the page, I guess they say. Figuring out how to get from point A to point B in a certain amount of time. I remember Kurt Busiek, the writer, for people who are tuning in and not sure who we mentioned, but he's a comic book writer that he said the same thing as Brian K. Vaughan that you brought up the other day, or on the episode, I think, with Adam Gabarnik. I think you had mentioned that Brian K. Vaughan had said that the comic book medium for storytelling is unmatched because of things you can do. You don't have to worry about budget, but no one is controlling the time except for how you can watch it in slow motion.
Yeah.
You can speed it up. You can take time to look at the scenery and really sink in somebody standing behind a wall, looking at, if they're creeping up on something. You can be Batman on the roof for 20 minutes as he surveys Gotham, right?
Yeah.
The movies, the books, they don't allow you to do that. You have to go along with it, and the pace is controlled, right? Mm-hmm. I forgot where I'm going with this point now. But yes, the pacing of the page, the time constraint, if you will, within the comic book panels, and learning how to make use of that. And an 8-page story, if it's done right, you're like, I'd like to see what this guy does when he has double that. Yeah. What will he extrapolate from this if he's got time? And I don't know if that's a lost art now to what it
Possibly.
once was.
It's possible. I mean, I think a lot of quite big names came out of Marvel Comics Presents, even if people don't remember the stories.
Mm-hmm.
It would be interesting to kind of go back and take a look at who came from that, and probably seeing where they are now, and seeing
Right.
like how they learn. Because I think like writing a short story that engages in is a skill anyway. Doing it in 8 pages, if you do like a one-off story in 8 pages and go like, oh, I want to know more, then geez, well done you.
Yeah.
Because that is skill.
So the going back to the storytelling of Joshua Williamson, that's your biggest hang up at this point with DC, is that everything is kind of being overseen. He's the new Jeff Johns.
Yeah,
In a
essentially,
way.
he's the new Jeff Johns stroke Bendis, for at least their Bendis. And if that's the thing, I think the problem is if it doesn't work for you, where do you go? You know?
James Tynion, another guy that's writing. Yeah, I think here's a question. Here's a random question. Do you think, and I think there was people dismiss it, right? The continuity. I'm going to talk
Yeah.
about the era of continuity. I think it's not what it once was.
No.
I think continuity is really, it's the key thing when something is new and a universe is giving birth to its characters and its worlds and its stories and its the galaxies within it. Like, you need time for all of that to build. And I think 30, 40 years of following that, you can keep track of that. But I think we're at a point where the magic of growing with characters is lost because they're not aging anymore.
Yeah.
You're always resetting.
Yeah.
Resetting.
Or they
me-
just stay the
yeah.
same unnaturally.
Yeah, or that, right? But I think now at this point in time, like, to your point that you often make, Secret Wars is a cutoff point in many ways of Marvel before and Marvel today, and they're different Marvels.
Yeah.
As similar, it's not to say that there hasn't been good stuff or good creations or good storylines. I'm sure there are. I've read a couple of them. Definitely are.
Yeah.
But it's a different storytelling universe than what we had before that. It's significant. You can see it. And it's very much in line with the movies and the multimedia and the video game. Like, Marvel now is a very different beast
Yeah.
than pre-Secret Wars, right?
Weirdly, I'm reading and this might not be a fair thing to judge it by, but I'm reading All Out Avengers at the moment. So they kind of push this thing where they're building towards some kind of event or maybe a big mini series. Can you have a big mini series? With the Beyonder. I love the Beyonder, man. I don't care how ridiculous the Beyonder is. That was my childhood, you know? I'm not saying they're like erasing my childhood because that's ridiculous. Shut up. But, you know, I want to see what they're doing with the Beyonder. That has sucked me back in. So well done. That's good advertising, marketing, I guess, because it's worked. I'm reading it on Unlimited. But I'm reading these stories and just going, what are you talking about? Like, what? So I've read a Defenders story that was so pretentious that it was unreadable, and everyone's going, this is very, very clever, this is great. It's like Inception. You know, when people watching Inception, they're all going, this is genius, and if you say anything otherwise, then you just don't understand it. You're an idiot.
It's funny. Me and Daff are watching Inception right now.
Are you?
For a little bit every night.
Is it
Yeah.
on? A little bit every night.
watch-
That must be really hard to keep track of what's going on.
We kind of make it like episodic. We like cut it off. She sees me falling asleep. She's like, okay, we'll pick it up tomorrow.
Good
But
film.
we watched
Yeah?
Interstellar. We watched Interstellar last week,
Yeah.
which I had only seen once.
What'd you
And then
think?
we tried Tenet for the second time, and I think Tenet is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I've heard things from people whose opinion I trust, and like, I need to not watch it.
Yeah, it's so complicated that it's being explained to you immediately what you need to know, how the rules of this world work.
Mm-hmm.
That even when it happens, you still are kind of like, wait a second, let me hold on. Let me try to keep track of all of this now. And I appreciate the mind bendingness of like a Christopher Nolan story with something like Inception and the dreamscape, and you know, planting ideas and how
Yeah.
everyone experiences. I appreciate that. I appreciate the interstellar, you know, the wormhole and the concept of space time and all that stuff. It's fun, but now I think he got to the point where he's like, how can I make this as
You gotta top it.
unnecessarily confusing? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's to the point now. It's like, can you just make a movie?
Well, that
Let's see
happened
if you
with
could just
M. Night Shyamalan, didn't it?
Yeah.
M. Night basically
It's
said
like you're
everything
trying to
you've got to
outdo
have a twist.
yourself.
Now I need to have a better twist and a better twist, and like you've fallen into your own trap. And to the
Yeah,
point where it's
yeah.
silly, like because that was what was the Happening? Oh my god, just one of the worst films ever made. The Happening. Have you seen it?
No.
I want you to watch this film. It's so hilariously awful. But it's not even just that the story's ridiculous. It's the acting is so bad. It's Marky Mark from the Funky Bunch kind of as the lead. What's his name? Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg.
He'll always be Marky Mark in the Funky Bunch to me. I don't care.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's really just so bad. But it's kind of funny because it's so bad. So it kind of works as a comedy. But it's unbelievable that anyone watched this and went, yes, well, good job, well done. We'll sign this. Off you go. We'll release this in cinemas. Like, no, don't. Seriously, don't, because it's not going to go well. It's so bad.
So it's so bad that it's good. Kind of like Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
The Fudgy Bunch,
Vibrations?
that's a very different film.
The Fudgy Bunch.
That's Specialist.
Marky Mark and the Fudgy
And the
Bunch.
Fudgy Bunch.
Oh, that
and the
sounds wrong.
Budgie Smugglers.
Yeah, sure. Do it when I'm about to take a sip.
Secret comedy, dude.
What were we
You
saying?
watch
Marky
it.
Mark
Though.
and the Funky
Are
Bunch.
you
Yeah,
going to watch that
Inception.
film? Seriously, you're going to watch that film?
I might.
Please do it. It's so bad.
might.
I want to know what you think.
Oh man, I don't know if I want to watch something off the strength of it being bad. What happens if I
not?
like it? Then you like. What
Then
do you
I'll
think of
judge
me
you.
If I end up... Okay. Fair
No, I
enough.
won't.
Fair enough.
No, I won't. I mean, the thing is, there are things I like that I know are bad that are films.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favourites is Them. Have you seen Them? It's brilliant.
No.
I think it was made in like 1953. It's like the original. Why have I gone all Beverly Hills? It's like the original, like, you know, like the original, like.
Like, tell me what you like about it, Dave.
Well, like I like. It's the original giant creature invasion B movie.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's giant ants invade, I think, New York, and it's black and white, and they're big rubber ants, and it's every cliche you can get. It's got the little hair on the screen. It's got the bad continuity. It's got the science professor who's the expert. How can you be an expert in giant ants that have never existed before? It's just ridiculous. And if you were going to make a parody B movie, that would be the template for it. It's so awful. It's brilliant.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't mind that. Okay. That's fine. But if you make it just a bad film, piss off. Wasting my time.
So Defenders, is that equivalent for you? This new Defenders Beyond?
Defenders is the problem with Defenders. So the thing Marvel have got at the minute, let's go a quick bitching session and then I'll be positive again. If I can.
No, bitch away. This is the speakeasy. We got drinks.
Okay, we're doing it. I'm pouring too while I'm doing it, but it's probably going to be a flake.
Yeah, we got an excuse. Come on.
So basically, they've had little revelations over the years, and this is the problem. They keep going back and revealing things about origins. Like, they've gone back and they've revealed stuff about the Fantastic Four's origin a while back when Mark Waid was on the series, and he basically said it was engineered. So it's engineered, like there's a behind-the-scenes kind of villain who wanted the four of them to go into space and get powers as part of a thing. I can't go into more detail than that. I haven't read that story in a long time.
Me too. I don't even remember it, but
well, since then they've revealed it again. But a different person engineered it. And it's like, well, you can't be two. Unless they're working together. Like, no, they both engineered it separately, but it just so happened.
They redid Mark Waid's story.
Essentially, but without knowing, because there's too much continuity to worry about. And that's why I was saying, like, 2015, they said they were going to start over. And they should have. And people going, no more reboots. Like, shut up with reboot, for one. Reboot it's not a computer. Just shut up. It's a stupid phrase. A reboot as well is being used to explain when a series starts over. That's not a reboot. That's just renumbering. So a reboot is if they start over from scratch. They should have started over from scratch after Secret Wars.
So they should have rebooted.
Shut up! Yes.
I understand your frustration, but like, I don't know how I feel when, like, I understand actually when people get frustrated with changing characters.
Yeah.
To the point where they're like, you've ruined, like saying you've ruined my childhood is a bit extreme, but you've ruined, but I understand the frustration.
Yeah.
Of saying you've ruined my character. You've ruined my experience with this thing because now you've just decided. For instance, I'm of the opinion of, like, I don't always like what happens when I would read certain comic books. I'm like, man, I wish they didn't do that. I wish they would have kept this. But they didn't.
Yeah.
And now we're stuck with the Spider-Man who is going to be married, for instance, right? But you want to know what? That's what happens with Spider-Man. Things that you don't want to necessarily happen, and you stick with him to see how he works through it. To then, even though I may not have liked something, for someone to come through, and this is the funny part, is that the writer, the editor, whoever might be, saying, you know, when I like Spider-Man, Peter Parker was like this, and he was single, and he wasn't married, and he was da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
That's the way Spider-Man should be for good stories. So you're bringing back your childhood, essentially, because you didn't like your childhood being ruined with the way they took the character. So you want your childhood back, so you change something that maybe none of us liked, but we've worked through it, and there've been story that it counts. Like, that's the point of continuity. I think we're at the point now where continuity, you've tampered with it so much, you can't keep track of it. It's too many years.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. You just got to do eras. And I think when people can come to a point where it's like, for me, my era of reading Marvel or DC up to date, that's not the type of comic book reader I am anymore. I am not a Wednesday Warrior pick my weekly. I don't care who the new hot writer is. Unless it's a really, really great book that I can't miss out on, I'll check it out. But I'm no longer going to be married to a series or a company because I got to be up to date. That's not the way I want to do my collecting or my reading. I just want to read good stuff that I haven't read before. And now it's being collected, right? So I'd rather stick to, maybe it makes you like an old fogey, or you're one of those guys that like prefers comics when
No. That's the thing.
Yeah, maybe I am.
No, you're not. The thing is, dude, the thing with that is, I think, like, it's funny when you chat to people and people are going, why are you posting so much non-Marvel stuff? You originally a Marvel thing, post more Marvel stuff. It's like, but I want to promote the stuff that isn't. This is the stuff I think is good. You know? Yeah. And they're going like it's weird to me because you actually ask them questions about what non-Marvel stuff are you reading, and they go, no, I'm only reading it, just make my Marvel, that's it. Well, okay. And I've been there, and I've done the same thing.
Me too.
But it's almost like only eating ice cream. You know, you're only eating ice cream, and ice cream's great. I love ice cream. You know, I'd love it. Give me some chocolate ice cream for the rest of my life. For one thing, it's going to make you really sick. And for another, like, you don't know what else is out there, so just try it. Like, and that's the thing. I think, like, hearing that interview, I know, again, I mentioned this a while ago. We mentioned Brian K. Vaughan, and Brian K. Vaughan was saying about it's weird that we have these universes that just don't stop. There's no end to the Batman story. There's no end. Even if you really look at the pre-Crisis on Infinite Earths continuity before they started again in the mid-80s, I think he died, so actually there is an end there. But, okay, if we don't do that one, we go after post-Crisis. There's no end after post-Crisis because it does still bleed into New 52 and it's still technically going. Now,
if you wanted
what's
to,
the end of the Batman
at this point,
story?
If you wanted to, like, I think in a lot of ways, pre-New 52 is a place where you could say this is where the universe as you knew it from Crisis on Infinite Earths till Flashpoint. After Flashpoint, it's a recognizable, somewhat similar. You won't be lost in knowing, but it won't be the same.
No, it does give you some storylines don't finish though until New 52. Like that's
Green Lantern and Batman.
Batman Incorporated doesn't wrap up properly till New 52, which is still technically the same continuity, but isn't. And that's the thing. Like it. So then, to all intents and purposes, it never ends. Like now, I love a story that can end, and if an ending doesn't stick, then sometimes you can forgive it because the story was so much fun. And sometimes you go, I needed the ending to stick, and that one didn't work for me. I'll put it to one side, and now I'm going to find something new. And I'm happier. This is like therapy. I'm happier for having found this, because now I get little wins instead of constant, even smaller wins that are like, yeah, but I need to read the next thing, and I need to do the next thing. And it's the thing, I love a big universe. Big universe is great fun. And when someone releases a new universe thing, a concept, like with Invincible, and you were saying to me, read Invincible. I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I didn't want to, but I did it, and I loved it. And then I was wanting to read everything, and some of the everything bits weren't as strong, and some of them were just good fun. Nothing was brilliant, but the main Invincible series was amazing. Like, it's so good. And like, I literally have you to thank for getting me to read it, because I wasn't going to.
I'm so happy you did, and I'm happy you liked it, because it's a long run for all intents and purposes, right?
Yes.
And usually it's written in a way. I remember that was a series where I kept hearing people like, Invincible, it's the best superhero series of all time, and I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm gonna go to a non-superhero imprint to get the best superhero, because it's like Marvel, DC, I'm pretty sure the best superhero story's been told by them. That's that kind of their thing. And when I finally gave it a shot, I would probably say that, Invincible might be the best superhero. That, for me, and X-Men of War.
Oh my God, X-Men of War is so good.
Superhero stories series that you could get your hands on.
Yeah. And
to your point, it's like, I don't give that many outside things a try as much. One, because they're not as collected, but I'm like, I don't know where to stop. Once I begin, I'm gonna have to get all of that. I'm gonna need, a new house to. Yeah. It's just how it goes,
well,
right?
That's
like
the thing, like especially when you go like, what are the important books? Yeah, but what are the ones you like?
Yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah,
There's a couple.
Exactly.
We've got a couple of comments, and like Marvel Man was saying, I completely agree. Love reading other comics as well, which is brilliant, because that's the thing. Like this is Marvel Man. I know he's a big Marvel fan, but it's always good to mix it up. And there's no harm in reading the Marvel stuff and loving the Marvel stuff. We're not like bad mouthing Marvel as a whole, just because the modern stuff generally doesn't work for us in many ways. It doesn't mean we're saying don't read Marvel, read this. Like, just find what you love.
No,
find what you love.
80 years worth of great stuff. Like, clearly, look at our episode list.
Yeah.
We list a lot of Marvel books frequently.
Yeah.
We love Marvel ourselves. Like, that's not a secret. But I think, go to your point, and to what's the Marvel Man? Is that his name?
Yes.
Okay. Shout out to Marvel Man. Thank you for commenting. The thing when you tell people that you read comics, they think you're just reading bam, pow.
They do, yeah.
Look out, Magneto's coming. They think you're just like you got Arrested Development. We are.
If we're reading the 60s stuff, we are.
Sure. But I think if at this point you're reading the 60s stuff, you're not reading it not understanding what they were making at the time, right?
Yeah,
but reading outside of Marvel and DC, you're getting stories, not superhero stories. You're getting what people pick up at the bookstore, in the fiction section, in the biographical section, in history. Like, you've got a mix of stuff. It's just that the pictures are drawn instead of it being written in prose. That's the difference. That's the only difference.
To me, it's more how Blockbuster used to be. Pre Marvel Cinematic Universe, when you go in to Blockbuster and you go, what do I want to try? And you'd pick something out because you like the art on the front, or you read the blurb on the back, or whatever, and you take it home and you get a complete story. And that's why I picked like that era rather than now, because everything is kind of franchised. There is a Marvel Cinematic Universe, but like there's also the Star Wars constant stream of stuff, and there's God knows whatever else. I don't even look anymore, because like everything just feels like I have to buy into a product. even like indie films though seem so dark now that and depressing that like I don't really want to. I don't know what to watch anymore, so I just don't. And I find it in these, and like you'll get you superhero universes like the Black Hammer stuff we were talking about, the other week, and you'll get one shots like Carly, which our number one book of last year is Carly. And number two is Echolands, which also isn't a superhero book. And it's such a good book. And actually, if you're a comics fan and you're not reading Echolands, you're not picking up on those rewards that only a comics fan is going to pick up on. That book is designed for comics fans, and it pays off in every page, and it's beautiful, and it's an experience. And people probably go like, shut up, like it's a comic. It's not. It's so much better than that. And that's the thing, like talking to people who are just going, nope, I'm just sticking to this one thing. I understand why people do it. It's a comfort zone.
I do too.
It's
absolutely.
Yeah. And it's expensive. So if you're gonna, and I've done this is what I mean, but saying at the start, I've done the same. And I know you probably did the same as a kid with DC. You stick to a universe because it's all you can afford. I stuck to Marvel because it's all I could afford. I couldn't buy 2 universes, never mind branching out after little bits.
Pretty much.
Here and there, but
and I let the ignorance that I had be my excuse.
Yes.
Like, I don't even know where to start. Like, where do I begin?
Yes.
Like, there's so much X-Men to read. Like, I'm confused. I'm just gonna read this because I know Superman. And some of the Superman comics I was reading that I liked, they weren't good comics looking back. I liked them because I like Superman and I like comic books. But there was plenty of other things I could have been spending my money on that would have been well worth my time more than, but I enjoyed it, right? Yeah. It's a comfort zone. That's what you're doing. This is your escape. But that's like the Image, the Dark Horse, I'm trying to think of all the other publishers that stories that aren't superhero. Because, I'm a sucker for sci-fi. Like Paper Girls is a sci-fi story at the end of the day. It's a time travel story. The one you mentioned, Birthright, that's like a fantasy.
Yeah, it's kind of like a half fantasy, half Flight of the Navigator.
Yeah, like there's all these different genres that get mixed into these indie comic books that you wish, like, just give that a try to people that you tell you read comic books to and they think you're crazy. It's like, you don't got to read Spider-Man. Try this book.
Yeah.
It's a Western. Kick ass. Try this book.
I did that with Preacher so often.
Better than any.
So often.
Exactly.
And people would go, it'll
be better than any television show.
Yeah, you can do this. They didn't do that in the TV version of Preacher. And I don't think they could. No. And it's not that it's all about saying offensive things on purpose to be offensive. Because Garth Ennis has done that plenty, and actually that often doesn't work. But it's a grown-up story with some really silly elements that actually with ridiculously engaging characters that just makes you want to come back for more. And do you know what you get? You get an ending.
Yeah.
It's great.
They're high concept sometimes, but it's there's a lot out there that I think I know there's people out there who will say, I'll never read a comic, it's ridiculous, but I bet you there's a story out there for you if you just give it a try beyond the capes and the costumes.
Yeah.
For sure.
We're probably going to do more recommendations for stuff that aren't that. We do that all the time, don't we? Like the incoming stuff is often a mix of stuff. So the idea is we'll try and recommend stuff for you guys that it's not just the standard capes and tights. But I mean, if there's stuff that you want us to talk about, I'll recommend for us to read. Shout, read it, get us to read it. We'll do it because we want to. We were trying to find good stuff.
Please. Yeah, we want you guys to feel engaged with what we talk about as much as we feel when we talk to each other.
Yeah.
So your input is a huge help. You're going to get the show you want. If you want a certain type of podcast, tell us what you want. We'll make it for you. Right? Hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully we do it. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll think that's a dumb idea. Speaking of DC still, just in news, I just saw a post that Mike Carlin retired after 37 years of working at DC. He's a storied editor right? Nothing but positive things from a lot of people who have worked with him. Worked on Captain America at Marvel.
Yeah, I thought he did Marvel for it.
And
I can't think. I think it's the booze.
of Mike Carlin. Mike Carlin, I think most famously was the editor of Superman during the just after John Byrne, or during the John Byrne time, and he continued on for many, many years. He was at the helm. He was the editor at the helm of the Death of Superman, Reign of Superman, all of that stuff. So, I mean, talk about I'm trying to think of the right word, but getting the trains to run on time for a book that is basically weekly. You've got a bunch of top-notch writers and artists that you've got to organize and potentially keep egos in check and make sure that the storyline is being followed properly. And at the same time, all of those books had a different feel, right? One focused on this part of the character's life. This one was more of an action version. So kudos to him and all of the stuff that he's worked on throughout his career. But so it wasn't coming to you what Mike Carlin did, eh?
The thing is, like, I must admit, like, in terms of editors and stuff, I never really paid that much attention. I think, like, obviously the bigger people like Joe Quesada, you notice because they're the big name, but I've never really...
Jim Shooter,
yeah, I guess certain, it's not, I never really noticed, like, not the small, I don't want to say smaller editorial roles, but you know what I mean. I think, like, when you do, you tend to notice it when it's not working. So I don't want to go back to, like, the negative, but you tend to notice when it's not working.
Yeah, who do you blame?
Yeah.
Who's the person in charge of this mess? For me, I guess because, like I mentioned before, Superman was such a big part of my comic book, my love of comics, and the death of Superman. If you listen back to our comics that changed your life, I think I listed that as one of the comics that changed my life. Just because of the age you were and something so big happening to a character that's supposed to be indestructible and that you can always rely on getting back up, right? So to know that he was kind of in the editor's seat, calling the shots and saying that let's go with it, let's not go with it. Like, for me, it's always going to be thanks. Like, if I met him, like, thank you for being such an important part, I guess, of my childhood and telling me stories that kept my imagination just like, what's happening to Superman? Who's the real Superman? Right?
This is Cult of Heroes is on, and he said we need to pay more attention to editors when they left notes in comic panel. We used to pay more attention to, God, I can't even speak now. We used to pay more attention to editors when they left notes in comic panels, and I was talking about that recently. I can't remember who it was even to, but just saying, like, about the little Ed, and that happened back then, Ed, and all the little things. Are like, sometimes they leave sarcastic comments, and that would be like,
it was
Ed.
great.
Yeah, it was fun, man. That's a really good point. I've forgotten they used to do that till really, really recently, and I was going, oh yeah, they used to do a thing. Otherwise, comments-wise, Omega Bread was saying the big two perpetually stuck in Acts 1 and 2, and the nature of their model means you can't ever progress to Act 3, and he's absolutely right. You do get your repeat Act 3 for events, for storylines and whatnot, but it's very difficult to kind of accept that, because when you try and sell this stuff to other people, you go like, try reading this thing, read Batman, read whatever it is, and you go like, okay, when's so it starts here, where does it end? It doesn't. It's a really weird idea that it just never stops. Omega Bread also said that he checked out Black Hammer on our recommendation. He's loving it.
Nice.
Made for an awkward. I'm just going to read this before I read it out loud. Oh my god!
Don't piss yourself.
I nearly let that go. He said he checked out Black Hammer on our recommendation. He's loving it. It made for a slightly awkward chat with his wife, though. She saw my Amazon order and she thought I'd ordered a sex toy.
Well, why are there 5 volumes of Black?
Why have you ordered 5 Black Hammers?
You ordered 5 big
if
Black
you ordered
Hammers.
those with batteries as well, you're asking for trouble when you put that through, dude.
So I asked the people on the chat 2 questions. One, was there any Marvel series that they would recommend to me to read? Because I haven't read too much post Secret Wars. I have, but not a ton of stuff. And the reason being is because I feel now we're in the era where the MCU is really the Marvel universe where the storytelling takes precedence and priority. Whereas before, you clearly felt the heroes lived on the page. But in terms of continuity, are we at a point now where the continuity that is so beloved in the movies is in which makes them work is also going to get to a point where people will step away because it's like, I don't want to have to watch all these other things in order to watch this movie? Are we is it like, does continuity have so much value until a point where it's like, I'm done?
I think that's where we're seeing it. We're seeing the comic issue problem rather in the real world with with regular people. And that's kind of a sign that I think people do love a beginning, middle, and end. So yeah, probably.
I think people love a universe that connects.
Yeah.
When they realize, like, oh, this hospital knows this fire department, and they're all like in each other's world, and they follow these rules. Like, that's an amazing like storytelling trick, right? We all love that. We're suckers for it.
What was it?
But we do like.
Sorry.
We do like even in a religious book, right? Every religious book has its Genesis and Revelation. It's got the apocalypse of some sort at the end, right? We need the ending. Yeah, they do.
Oh, shit.
There are some crossovers. Yeah.
Oh,
the
man.
Gospel's got a couple of different appearances. They got perspective, right?
The Infinity Gospel.
But yeah, I think we love it, but we need to know, okay, this is where it ended. This is how it ended, whether it was good or bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, nothing truly ends. But you give people an ending. Just reward people with something. There was one thing I was going to say, actually, with you talking about the film thing, and this was the last thing I'll do about kind of being derogatory about modern Marvel, which was, so the series I'm reading, which is All Out Avengers, which I was kind of get to. So there were two things. That Defenders Beyond series, they're introducing this idea of 8th Cosmos, 7th. Well, they did it before, but it's like they play the idea of the 7th Cosmos and the... Fuck, I can't say it. How much is in this? It's like there've been like 8 universes. This is the 8th universe. But it actually contradicts stuff they've done in the past. And it's to a point where, because no one will introduce new characters, because they don't pay enough when they become big cinematic things... Because there is a set fee.
True.
So they just keep rehashing and reinventing and re-explaining the past. So they've got this. They've got this thing now of like the 8th. It's almost like there's too much complexity to the universe, to the Marvel universe. It's just horrendous. Right. So Defenders Beyond is a sign of the unnecessary complexity of the Marvel universe. All Out Avengers is connected to it, which I'm currently reading. I've read one issue. And it shows the influence of the Marvel Cinematic Universe on the comics, where people are behaving like their film counterpart. So Spider-Man is behaving like a child, but at this point he's probably 39, in which case he's a prick. Like, grow the fuck up. It's unnecessary, Peter. You're embarrassing. Look, I'm a pilot. No, you're not. I turned off the thing because you're too immature to actually pilot this thing. Oh, come on. It's embarrassing. Yeah. He's like an embarrassing dad, and I am one of those. So, like, I know what it's like.
You know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I've got experience.
You got field experience.
Yeah.
What would it take, other than an obvious answer like good story, but for you, like, what would it take to bring you back into reading weekly things from Marvel, or are you happy? You're happy reading the way you are. Yeah.
Well,
I agree.
One of the things as well, I don't know if are you a solicits guy? Do you look at the solicits? Do you look at what's coming up?
I used to, but mostly now for like when I'd go to my comic book shop and I'd get the free Marvel's preview, I would take a look at some things that might have been coming out that were going to be maybe like a mini series or something significant happening, but I would always go to the back and see what collections were coming out. That was my main thing. Yeah. With the solicits, what we do. Yeah. That was always what I was interested in.
Yeah.
I don't really care about anything. It's just, and I think you just made, for me, you've answered my ultimate question is like, there's no more incentive. There's no more incentive for these creators. Like you're going to use what their toys to make yourself popular so that your creation and your superheroes and villains can become a thing of their own.
Yeah.
Why would you make anything that's going to be put in a movie and they're going to make toys out of that you're not going to get a piece of? So it just kind of makes, it's almost like it's become a place to advertise yourself on this big name book. You're going to make big money finally from your hard work, perhaps. And then now you're going to get your image or your Dark Horse title, get recognition because, hey, this guy worked on the X-Men or whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
Whereas before, there wasn't really that much wiggle room other than if you want to have a career in this, you get to Batman, you've made it.
Yeah. You do your little indie
Still
book,
kinda like
you get picked up, you do your series for DC or Marvel, and then you go out and you do your creator owned and you exist happily. That's the pattern.
Right.
But I think it's difficult now to do a big Marvel DC event because you're literally... It just feels like you're perpetuating... You're repeating the past.
Right.
It doesn't feel like you're bringing anything new. So... But I mean, I could be wrong. And there's people like Chip Zdarsky who everyone's loving, and he's doing it.
Yeah,
he did like Dark Reign. No, Devil's Reign, which I haven't read yet.
He's actually a modern creator who I'm always interested in seeing how he handles stuff. I find him kind of refreshing because he gives recognition to the history, shows his love for it, but it's always like a nice fresh take. It's like it's comfort, but it's also a new, fresh coat of paint, if you will, because that's all you could really do at this point, right?
Pretty much. I don't know what DC's policy is. Sorry, go on.
Did you happen to read the Invaders book that he did with Butch Guice?
No, dude, you recommended that to me, and I put it on my read list on the old Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah, I'd like to see what you think of that. I'd be interested just in your, even if you read like the first half of the series, just to see like
12
where
issues.
you come up, because it's 12 issues, the whole series. Yeah, I enjoyed it actually, but I like Chip Zdarsky. Like I said, I give him a shot.
Is it contained? Like, is it completely self-contained? So you get a beginning. You can see what's happened.
Pretty much.
This is the non-Marvel DC programming kicking in. Is it self-contained?
It does stand on its own in a way where you can read this. You get kind of the relationships of the people within the Invaders, which are an interesting group of characters now that you've got the Winter Soldier involved.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it adds a certain element to that relationship now that he is not just a memory, as was always referred to before, right? So when they do what's nice about it that I liked was that there is a flashback artist and then an artist that is covering the modern. Like, you know when it's a flashback based on the artist switch, which I enjoy. It's easy for the transition of time.
They did
really cool.
They did a thing in the at one point in the Transformers stuff for IDW, where they did flashback stuff that was drawn in the style of old school Transformers comics, and it was also the old school coloring. So you could, and like the Ben-Day dots and everything, so you could tell it was a flashback, even though it wasn't based on the old continuity. It looked like old school Transformers, so it kind of had this whole. It gave the flashback more of an old school vibe.
I like that.
Yeah,
no, that works.
Nice.
Those are the type of things where, again, comic books can really, if you cast it right when it comes to the creators, it's got a magic that you just can't duplicate.
Yeah, and also there's that comic language. You know, that's the whole thing of the coloring style with the Ben-Day dots, and that's comic language. That's something that only we know. And dude, I don't know how you feel about the whole, what's that thing called? If you know, you know. When people say, like, if you know, you know. I don't get that.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Because, like,
I think it's a short. You understand what it means.
Well, I know what it means, but I don't know. Is it exclusionist?
No, I just think it's one of those things. Or if you know, you know.
I guess the thing is, where I sees that sometimes and go, where I sees that sometimes and go, if you know, you know, and I think, well, I don't. So.
I think it's one of those things where it wouldn't take you or I long. Like, I see people a lot of times at work who have some sort of superhero paraphernalia, a sticker, a t-shirt, a hat, something, right?
Yeah.
And I'll compliment them like, hey, I like your Deadpool sticker. I like your whatever character they got. Like, do you like the character because you got a bunch of his stickers on your hard hat. I'll dig a little bit. And oh yeah, it's my favorite character. I love it. So, and I'll see
it's
like
my favorite movie.
like, yeah, that's the one, right? Like I love the movie. He's the best. It's the best movie. I said, oh, did you ever read any of his books? And sometimes they'll be like, yeah, but I forget which one. So I'll know, like, okay, you're not a comic fan, like that, because you don't remember which book you've read that you like. Whereas if you're a comic fan. Yeah. If you say, oh, yeah, I have a bunch of his books, then I'll be like, what's your favorite story?
Yeah.
Once they say a name, whether it's Joe Kelly or, Daniel Way, whatever it might be, you'll know. It's like, okay, if you know, you know. Now I know.
Yeah.
Now we can talk at a different level.
Yeah.
That's what I just think. I don't think it's exclusionary. I just think it's one of those things where you're in on the joke.
Yeah.
And it's not something that everybody would. It's like us talking about this. I know in my neighbor, I know what's happening on Saturday mornings or maybe Sunday mornings when I hear him scream. I know that Arsenal is playing. He's a huge Arsenal fan.
I wasn't sure if that was a euphemism as well there, dude.
No.
Arsenal is
playing.
He's a
huge soccer. He's a huge football fan. So I know what the score is in the game based off of the reaction, right?
You said football.
I now know. Football. That's the proper term, right?
Yeah.
You don't call it soccer.
No one calls it soccer in this country. I don't even like football, but like when people say soccer, I go, like, what the It's not soccer.
You don't like
soccer.
You're my only friend from England who doesn't like football.
Really?
Formula One. Do you like golf?
Dude, no. If someone likes golf, I know we can't be friends.
I like golf.
Right. It's been great. Thanks very much for watching, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. That's the end of our live.
What do you mean watching golf or playing golf?
I don't play golf, but me and my wife just recently purchased clubs. So she wants to go out and play golf. So
not kill seals.
I'm going to be playing golf with. No, not killing seals. We're going to take up the sport and try to get good at it. Get gooder at golf.
Okay.
Yeah, why not? Or can we still be friends, or are we going to look for new co-hosts?
All right. Dude, so my uncle plays golf. My uncle has got this ridiculous house and this massive long garden. And right down the end, there's like a second garden. Then there's a third garden. Then there's a fourth garden. It's nuts. And then you go through this little
golf course.
Sounds like that's the thing. You go through the little gate at the end, and there's a golf course. What? And that's the thing. Like I can respect him because he's awesome. So there's always exceptions. I'll let you be the exception from your country.
Thank you.
But there are so many people I know that play golf who are dicks. So, and if anyone's watching who plays golf, you might be a dick. Just if you check in, I'll give you a questionnaire, and then I'll judge you.
The dick.
If you're
the length of your dickness questionnaire.
I'll send you a ruler.
Well, I have a lot more questions for the speakeasy, but I'm going to save them for the next one. Fair?
Sure.
I'm sure, because they're not like time sensitive ones. They're just fun conversation starter speakeasies. Okay. We've been going for almost an hour and 20.
Oh.
Yeah, time flies by, right? We could keep going, but I don't know how many more things you're gonna forget or slur as you.
Am I that bad?
As the night goes on. No, you're not bad. You're not bad at all. I think you're pointing it out. No, I'm only teasing you because you brought it up. You're fine. Shit. But
I've nearly finished anyway, so it's.
There you go. Yeah, me too.
Oh no, wait.
I thought I was gonna.
Wait, there's more in here. We can carry on if. I don't mind.
No, we'll. You want to keep going?
We can do one more question.
It's up to you. All right, let's do one more question. All right.
Sound like Columbo.
On your recent collector item special episode with Adam Gabarnik from Running Out of Space.
Yes.
Right? Is that how you say his name?
Yes. Sorry, It just makes me feel like a guest on a Saturday morning kids show. Like you. So you recently had a.
I'm getting into interview mode.
Wow.
He claimed that Gore the God Butcher. Oh, what happened?
Oh,
that's a lot of head.
I flaked it.
Actually,
a lot of head, but not in a good way.
I've heard that is actually the right way to pour beer because all the gas exits it, and now when you drink it, it doesn't keep you bloated.
Really?
I saw someone showed me because they said, "How do you pour beer?" And I said, "You got to pour it slow so you don't get all the foam at the top. Like everybody knows that." And then they showed me a video where the bartender actually said, "This is not the right way to pour beer because you're keeping all the wheat, like the heaviness in it. Whereas if you pour it, it all comes out, and now the beer is more drinkable. It doesn't make you bloated.
Really?
It doesn't. I don't know. Don't
Is
quote
that
me.
true?
You gotta look it up. But just so that you don't feel discouraged to enjoy that brew. There you go. That's what we're talking about. This is the Speakeasy, folks. That's right.
This reminds me of a
Little
video
white
I
on the
watched.
face. Oh my God. Okay, on that episode, he claimed that Gore the God Butcher was the best Marvel villain since Carnage.
Yeah.
Do you agree? When I heard
I
it,
asked him, I was like, "What is Carnage?" But the thing I said to him was, "Carnage a great villain?" And he went, "I don't really like Carnage."
Right.
Which, yeah, I
Me
thought it was like,
but,
okay. But like in terms of great and like memorable villains, you can't argue that Carnage isn't a memorable villain.
absolutely.
He is.
People who aren't huge comic fans know Carnage.
Yeah.
Right?
So has there been a great villain, a new villain since Carnage? And when he said it, I was thinking there must have been. Like, who am I thinking
Me
of?
too.
All the big stories. And I'm thinking Annihilation. Oh, Annihilation, Thanos. Civil War. It's complicated.
Yeah. No, I couldn't think of one myself. I actually looked it up. I said, "There's got to be another one."
Yeah,
Not Carnage.
but I thought it'd be like that's the thing. Even you asking this, it should be an easy question, right? It should be the most obvious thing.
The only thing could have been Moreland.
Is he
that
that
we've
good,
talked about
though?
recently.
I think Moreland serves a purpose, but
That's
who
the
is he?
thing.
What's his shtick? What's his deal? Is he a character, or is he a?
And Moreland is
device?
one where it's like, if you know, you know. That's the only way you'll appreciate Moreland, right? It's the perfect example of like,
Yeah,
you got to like Spider-Man and a certain era of Spider-Man.
yeah. But that's the thing as well. It's a
But
good,
is Gore
it's a
the
great
God
story.
Butcher a recurring? Is Gore the God Butcher recurring?
He's not recurring, but I think like, he makes such a mark.
It's 11 issues.
It's 11 issues, but you remember him.
Sure.
You know,
But I
think
feel like
that's
Carnage is like, he's in the universe.
but does it matter if they're recurring or if they're not? Like in
Is
theory,
Onslaught a new villain, or is he derivative of something?
I mean, the thing is, even Onslaught doesn't appear that often, but you remember him. So I guess like as long as you can think of them, then they're great villains. I mean, it's like with any film, like especially old school films where they only made one film. It wasn't a trilogy or anything. A great villain is a great villain. Like my favorite villain in a film is probably no, it can't be. Think of another one.
Who was it? Who's the one that came to your mind? You got to say it now. Be embarrassed. Be ashamed. Tell us what it is.
The one that came to my mind is Kim Jong-il from Team America.
Perfect.
I love him.
Why not?
He does a song. Have you seen that film?
No, but I've only heard how funny it is.
You've got to see that film as well. That's two. That's two. So Team America first, and then The Happening second.
America.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check it out. I forgot what my question was to you.
Question?
Villain.
Oh, best villain. So if we're just talking
I was hard
Marvel,
pressed to think of one too. Yeah, just talking Marvel. Because you could think of other ones from any other, I would say Invincible has better villains.
Yeah.
Have you seen the show?
Invincible, one episode. And I watched it with Misha and she fell asleep during the end credits, so she never saw the twist. And because she never saw the twist, she went, seems like a standard thing. I'm not that interested. Like, if you don't watch this, I'm not going to watch this because I literally won't watch TV on my own anymore because I'm too scared.
Yeah, I'm the same. You're too scared. I'm the same at this point. I read comics by myself.
Yeah.
I'll watch TV with my pal.
Yeah.
Right? That's the point.
Yeah.
Someone to say, that was stupid. Wasn't that dumb?
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but we pause. I pause. I press. Can you pause? I got something to say. And then I'll go into like a whole podcast.
Really?
I should do a podcast of us trying to watch a movie. Yeah. Sometimes it takes hours.
Oh my God.
Mainly because of me. We'll wrap it up there.
Okay.
Yeah. Why not? Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're on Twitch, if you're on YouTube, and rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever podcast platform you enjoy. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Check us out every week, Wednesdays, 5 p.m., 10 p.m. on the other side, the other continent where Dave is in England, the UK, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm coming from Toronto. So if you're in Toronto or like, what's the timeline here? I'm on the EST, Eastern Standard Time. It would be EST. It would be 5 p.m. here, 10 p.m. in the UK. But we're broadcasting all over the world. So stay tuned. More stuff is coming your way. Dave?
I've got good? Windy pops. Sorry about that.
Signing off the Windy Pops, everybody. Take care. We'll be back soon.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye-bye. Cheers. Bye.